Hi Chris, white velvet. I'm going to show you how to create a border using white velvet, which is a matte fine powder which I'm going to mix with water-based dry medium to a very smooth paste. It needs to be really, really smooth. It's a bit tedious doing this, but worth it in the end. And having the vegetable dye in works really well because it makes it so much easier when you can stretch it. But let me just show you. Can you see how coarse it is? You must mix it until it's really, really fine so that you can see no granules left. So have a bit of patience and mix it really, really well. Bit of a boring job, but worth it. But while I'm mixing that, I can tell you that any you've previously mixed, you can save. It never goes off because it's mixed with dry and water-based medium. And you can take that at any time, it'll keep more or less forever. So it's quite useful because you can also, as well as etching, you can use it to pen with. And that looks about ready. So creamy and smooth. And then what we're going to do is thin it down to a suitable consistency to pad on. Otherwise, we don't want it going too thick. So, water. Take the top off, helps. And thin it down and mix it really well again until, there we go. Right, now it feels a bit chalky actually, but that is normal because it's a matte powder. We want it thin enough to be able to pad it on so it goes quite fine and more easily etched. That's getting there. Drop more and we'll give that a whirl. In fact, you can see the vegetable dye as you mix it. You see the dark areas that just sort of creep on. That's just the vegetable dye, which all burns out, and of course it turns white when it's fired. So let's just test it out. Now then, next stage is to make a pounce. The easiest way is some angel sponge and a piece of normal sponge, just save your old sponges. Make a pounce, you can put a tie around it if you want to, one I made earlier, and pad it in and just test it out and see how that looks about alright. I just keep my fingers crossed I've got enough to go around. Right, something that's just been a test towel, ready to put a border around. So if I pad it round, I can let it dry off really hard and then it can be etched later. So move reasonably quickly, because if you're working in a very dry room, warm room I should say, it will start to dry off on you. So if you pad it round and then go round again to tease out the bubbles. Let's just move that a little bit more. That's just got a bit extra just in case. That was finely tuned. And don't worry too much about going onto a border where you've painted it, because it'll just scratch back or wipe back. Right, so that, if you repounce it carefully, it gives you quite a fine texture and smooths it out, and the bubbles sort of pop if there's any little bubbles. Right, that I would leave to dry in a warm room near a radiator. Pop it in the kiln or use the hairdryer to dry it off if you're waiting. Otherwise dry it overnight, but you don't use it until it's gone a really hard surface, or else it won't etch back properly. So that can then allow to dry, and then we can etch a border into it. And this would be what it would look like when it's dried out, all ready to go. And really, it is really quite hard. That's been drying overnight, so it's got a really hard surface. And really, unless you actually spit on it or wet it in any way, it won't move. But if you've got damp hands, be careful, because that will bring it off as well. So that actually is ready to go and ready to etch. Okay.